Hey guys, how you doing today? I want to update you on this beautiful plant. This is my Philodendron Mamie. I absolutely love her. I've had her since about the beginning of summer, or late spring, I guess. This is a plant that Chris sent me, Chris from Chris's Garden Pile. I have 3 different plants you can see here. I've got one here, I've got one over here, and then I've got this one. So this is the original plant that Chris sent me. You can see inside the rhizome, I guess. And what I did was, well, I wanted this plant. I had been looking for it, and let me try to move down here a little bit. So she had one. She actually won it from, I believe, on Etsy, but don't quote me on that. She had it for, like, I believe through the summer and then through the winter. It was not doing well for her. It wasn't growing right. It had really small leaves. The leaves were browning out. They were coming in kind of wonky-ish, deformed looking. So she asked me if I wanted it. We were doing a plant trade. She asked me if I wanted it, and I was like, oh my god, I can't believe you even want to get rid of that plant. I kept trying to talk her out of it. I said, just keep it and, see if it will do better for you. But no, she didn't want to, she didn't want to mess with it no more. She was afraid it was a humidity issue. So she sent it to me, and I just adore this plant. Well, it was growing kind of wonky for me too. The leaves were kind of deformed. They weren't very big. They were about this size, which was fine. I mean, it's a beautiful, beautiful plant, but obviously you want, or I want, the bigger leaves. So what I did, this is why I have 3 of this plant, was I cut, after I had it for a couple, 2 or 3 months, I decided I was going to chop it because it was not growing correctly for me either. So I thought, well, let's try to start over. So this is the original plant, and she has started to grow leaves. Okay, I got that out of my way. And then this is the mid-cut. You can see the stem right here, and it's growing pretty good. It's got 3 leaves, and then it's got a 3rd one coming in right here. So it's doing really well for a mid-cut. Very happy about that. And I do have these, I propagated them in spag, but now I have soil. Here, let me show you. You can see the roots. Well, maybe, but you can see, like that right there is a big long root. It's red. Very fine, thin roots. But I've got soil and perlite on the bottom and then spag on the top because I propagated it in spag, and then when I repotted it, I wanted to put soil on the bottom so that it could grow down into soil, because eventually, I'll get all these plants are in part soil, part spag. Spag on top, soil on the bottom. But I want them to grow in, so eventually I can just, when I have to repot them, I can put them all right back in to soil. So then this part, right here, this one, this is the top cutting. And it has done very, very well for me. It's grown the biggest and the best out of all 3 sections. You can see how beautiful the leaves are, and the color on it is just amazing. I absolutely love this plant. And you can see I've got a little bit of browning on the edges, a little bit of yellowing. This plant has had spider mites, I don't know, 2 or 3 times. And that, I think, is the damage on the leaves from it. It did have it kind of bad the second time. But you can see over here, and plus I've got down here, you can see, I had a little tiny piece of fern that I took out of my terrarium when I tore it apart, and I stuck it in here with her because I'm goofy and I think it looks cute. But you can see she has a, see here if I can turn, she has a new leaf coming out right here. Now I'm trying an experiment with this plant. This plant is a crawler. It crawls across the ground. And this rhizome just crawls across, it gets roots, it roots down into the ground, it continues to crawl. Well, what I'm going to try to do is, you can see I've been training her to grow up very gently, but I started it when she was young and the rhizome was still very soft. But I want to try to get her to grow up my board and see if I can continue her to grow up and the roots will attach to the board, and then eventually I'll have to put a bigger board in here. But I've got so many crawlers. I've got my Gloriosum, I've got my McDowell, and a few others, and I'm kind of running out of room. So I thought, well, let me try doing this and see if it works. I've never seen anybody else do it, so I really don't know if it, I mean, so far it seems like it's working. She is growing up, and I think she will continue to hopefully grow up. I'll keep you guys updated on it, but you can see the back of the leaves are very pretty, and I love how the stems grow. They're kind of like, they're round and cylindrical, and then as they get closer up here to the sinus of the plant, it gets really flat. I don't know if you guys will be able to see it, but it's really a cool plant. But I wanted to keep her in the spag as long as I could, because she was growing so well on it, and I thought, I'll put the soil on the bottom because I have this pot in the same manner. Spag on the top where the spag roots had grown, so that the roots could then grow down into the soil. So hopefully, this is the last leaf she put out, and you can tell the color on this is just gorgeous. I love it. I'm excited to see this next growth pop out. I'm hoping the leaf will kind of twist and straighten itself out. As you can see, the sinus is down here and the point is up. So that might be an issue with trying to get it to grow up. We'll see. I'm hoping it will turn. We'll see. I don't know. But as far as humidity for this plant, I have her in between a 50 and 60% humidity here in my plant room. I actually have her over here in the corner with my anthuriums. I try to keep that corner. I have my humidifier a little closer to that corner, so that corner kind of stays slightly more humid than the rest of my whole room. But trying to keep the spider mites away. Now, once a month, every 3 weeks or so, I am spraying her down with neem oil. I've been trying to mist her really well every couple of days, trying to keep the spider mites at bay. Spider mites like dry, so they seem to come when if you're low on humidity, you might get spider mite outbreak. And then I'm keeping her in about a medium light. She is growing under a grow light, so before I was growing her under the grow light, I had her in a southern window, and it was back about 3 foot from my southern window. So she was getting very, very nice light, and she seems to like it. So I want to keep her in that higher light, so I put her right directly under a grow light. I have a Holmes, what is the name of that? House Bright grow light. So far she seems to be doing really well. I do not know about any other pests on this plant. I've only had spider mites on it, but I'm sure possibly it can get other kind of a pest issue. I do not know. I can only talk about what I've dealt with this plant in particular, and she did have spider mites. Chris told me when she first got it, a little while after she got it, it also had spider mites. So probably a humidity issue. Usually if you have brown tips, kind of like this, you know, it's usually a humidity issue with that particular plant. Or it could be that you're under watering. It can also be a sign of too close to the sun, like if you have it in a window. But the damage that you're seeing on this plant is definitely from spider mites. You can see where the spider mites were, especially on this leaf in particular. And this one, you can see the spider mite damage if you get really close to it. You can see all of the little yellowing around the leaf where they were sucking the life out of the plant. But eventually this plant will get bigger and these leaves can get cut off, so I'm not super worried about that of it. I don't really worry too much about any kind of damage on my plants. I think the most important thing is to keep your plants clean. Keep any dead leaves off of it. I keep my sheathing cleaned off. You know, like when this starts to dry up, the red sheathing on it, I'll take that off because pests can hide in that debris. So I feel like it's really important to keep the dead leaves and the dead sheathing and stuff off of plants so that you don't have any kind of bug issues hiding around. And as far as feed, I feed her every time I water her. I give her a fish fertilizer. All my plants really seem to like the fish emulsion, so that's the only thing I feed all my plants, and they like it. And I do try to water. I do try to feed them every time I water, but sometimes it can be only a couple of times a month. I've been down to once a month where, you know, they get fed, but it don't seem to be a huge deal. I think as long as they're getting fed once a month, that's sufficient, you know, for a plant, for the majority of plants. But a lot of plants are really big feeders, so you know, you just want to personally keep an eye on that plant. Like anthuriums, a lot of the anthuriums that I have, anthuriums are big feeders. Most philodendron plants are big feeders. So you want to try to feed them weekly when you every time you water. You know, you want to give them a week dose. You don't want to pile up a bunch of food on them every time. Just a week dilution in water, and that should be just absolutely fine. But I love this plant. It did give me some issues in the beginning, but I think cutting it made a world of difference, and the top cutting has really been the best growing for me so far. And then I would say the mid cut is doing well also. But I love this plant. It's been kind of a booger. You know, between not growing correctly and then acting funny, and then getting spider mites a couple times for me and a couple times for Chris. But it's just a plant that I've learned that I have to keep my eye on really good, like I do my alocasias, because they are also spider mite magnets. But I will continue to feed her all winter long, just like I do all my other plants. The growing majority of my things are growing under grow lights and then window light too. So I think that is it. I think I covered everything on this beauty. I absolutely love her, and I'm really, really glad to have it. She is definitely a beauty. I love all the silver splashing in the leaves. It's just absolutely gorgeous. They also have a green Mamie, and oh, it is so pretty. But I'm glad to have the silver one. I would love to have the green one, but I'm happy with this. The green one is also very, very pretty. And I love the red on this. You can see it really well on the back of the leaves. And then you got the sheathing is red. You can see how pink, like a pinky red that the leaves look when they first start coming out. And then the rhizome is all red. The roots are red. Very pretty. Cool plant. But I think that's it. I just wanted to give you guys a little update on this plant. Some of you that watched me unbox this. I will try to put pictures up if I can find them. I have so many pictures. It takes me forever to go through pictures. And I hate editing, so I spend very little time editing. But I am going to let you guys go, and I will talk to you later. Have a great day. Bye. Peace.